The female CEO shivered and said, "Can I slip under your blanket?" The single dad froze. Her voice trembled with the cold, but there was something else there too, vulnerability from a woman who never showed weakness. As she stood in his doorway, drenched from the storm, their eyes met and everything changed. Sometimes life's most unexpected moments lead to our greatest happiness. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales that remind us second chances are always possible, even when we least expect them. The mountain cabin creaked under the assault of the winter storm. Inside, Jack Matthews stared at the woman standing in his doorway, Katherine Wells, the formidable CEO who'd made his life hell for the past year. Now she stood shivering, her designer coat soaked through, her usually perfect hair plastered to her face. "My car slid off the road," she said, her voice barely audible above the howling wind. "Your cabin was the only light for miles." Jack's 6-year-old daughter Emma peeked from behind his legs, curious about their unexpected visitor. He should turn Katherine away after everything, the missed promotions, the impossible deadlines, the subtle undermining of his work. But the storm outside was merciless, and despite everything, he couldn't bring himself to be cruel. "Come in," he said finally, stepping aside. Katherine's usual confidence had vanished. In its place was a woman who looked lost, vulnerable, human. Jack handed her a towel while Emma watched with wide eyes. "You're the lady from Daddy's office," Emma said. "The one in the big picture on the wall." Katherine managed a small smile. "That's me. Why are you all wet?" "Emma," Jack warned gently. "It's okay," Katherine said. "I got caught in the storm, sweetheart." Jack busied himself making hot chocolate, stealing glances at Katherine as she awkwardly attempted conversation with Emma. He'd never seen his boss like this, stripped of her power suits and commanding presence. Here, she was just a woman caught in a storm. "I didn't know you had a cabin up here," Katherine said as he handed her the steaming mug. "It was my wife's family place," Jack replied, the words still difficult even 3 years after Sarah's death. "We come here when the city gets too much." Katherine nodded, her eyes taking in the modest cabin with its mismatched furniture and family photos. "It's lovely." Emma yawned dramatically, and Jack smiled. "Bedtime, kiddo." "But we have a guest." Emma protested. "And she'll still be here in the morning. The storm isn't letting up any time soon." After tucking Emma in, Jack returned to find Katherine standing by the fireplace, still shivering despite the roaring fire. "The guest room isn't heated well," he explained apologetically. "Old cabin problems." Katherine nodded, wrapping her arms around herself. The silence between them stretched uncomfortably. "I should apologize," she said suddenly. "For a lot of things." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't sound like the Katherine Wells I know." "Maybe you don't know me," she replied quietly. The power chose that moment to flicker and die, plunging the cabin into darkness save for the firelight. Jack sighed and reached for the emergency blankets. "Perfect timing," he muttered, wrapping one around his shoulders and offering another to Katherine. They sat on the couch, the awkwardness between them gradually thawing as they talked. Katherine spoke of her rise through the corporate ranks, the sacrifices she'd made, the armor she'd built around herself. Jack shared stories of raising Emma alone, of balancing work and fatherhood, of keeping his wife's memory alive. As the night deepened and the temperature dropped further, Katherine's shivering became more pronounced despite the blanket and fire. "I've never done well in the cold," she admitted. "My apartment is always tropical." Jack added another log to the fire, but it did little to combat the chill seeping through the cabin's old walls. Katherine's teeth were chattering now. "Jack," she said finally, her voice small and hesitant, so unlike her boardroom tone. "Can I slip under your blanket? I'm freezing." Jack froze, caught off guard by both the request and the way his name sounded on her lips, not Matthews, not the formal address she always used at work. Just Jack. After a moment's hesitation, he lifted the edge of his blanket. Katherine moved closer, and he felt the chill radiating from her as she settled beside him. "Thank you," she whispered. They sat in silence, the only sounds the crackling fire and the storm raging outside. Gradually, Katherine's shivering subsided as warmth built between them. "I never meant to be the villain in your story," she said suddenly. I've spent so long proving myself that I forgot how to be anything else." Jack looked at her profile in the firelight. "Why me? You've always been harder on me than anyone else." Katherine was quiet for so long that Jack thought she might not answer. "Because you remind me of what I gave up," she finally said. "You have Emma, and despite everything, you make it work. You're good at your job, but you don't let it consume you. I admire that more than you know." The confession hung in the air between them, changing something fundamental in their dynamic. "It's not easy," Jack admitted. "There are days I feel like I'm failing at everything." "You're not," Katherine said with surprising fierceness. "Emma is wonderful. That's not an accident." Morning came with pale sunlight filtering through the windows. Jack woke to find Katherine and Emma at the kitchen table, heads bent together over pancake batter. "Daddy!" Emma exclaimed. "Katherine's teaching me how to make her grandma's special pancakes." Katherine looked up, a smudge of flour on her cheek. Without her makeup and power suit, with her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, she looked younger, softer. "I hope that's okay," she said, uncertainty in her voice. "More than okay," Jack replied, surprised by how natural it felt to see them together. The storm had passed, leaving a pristine blanket of snow outside. After breakfast, they bundled up and ventured out, Emma racing ahead to make snow angels while Jack and Katherine followed at a more sedate pace. "I called for a tow truck," Katherine said. "They'll be here in a few hours." Jack nodded, trying to ignore the disappointment he felt. "Back to reality." "Does it have to be the same reality?" Katherine asked, stopping to face him. "Last night, talking to you, it made me realize how isolated I've become. How much I've missed by focusing only on my career." Jack studied her face, seeing the vulnerability there, the hope. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'd like to know you, both of you, outside the office. If you're willing." Emma's delighted shriek interrupted them as she lobbed a snowball in their direction. It hit Katherine squarely in the shoulder, and for a moment, Jack tensed, unsure how his boss would react. Katherine's face registered shock, then mischief. She bent down, packed a snowball of her own, and sent it flying toward Emma, who squealed and ducked behind a tree. "Oh, it's on now," Katherine called, laughing in a way Jack had never heard before. The snowball fight that ensued left them all breathless and laughing, cheeks flushed with cold and exertion. As they trudged back to the cabin, Emma slipped her small hand into Katherine's as naturally as if they'd known each other forever. Inside, as they shed wet coats and boots, Jack caught Katherine's eye. "I think we could manage that," he said, answering her earlier question. The tow truck arrived mid-afternoon. As Katherine prepared to leave, Emma hugged her fiercely. "You'll come visit us again, right?" she asked. Katherine knelt to Emma's level. "I'd like that very much." Standing, she turned to Jack. "Thank you," she said simply. "For everything." "Drive safely," he replied. "And Katherine? Monday morning might be awkward if we pretend this never happened." She smiled, a genuine smile that transformed her face. "Then we won't pretend." Monday morning brought changes no one at Wells Financial could have predicted. Katherine called Jack into her office first thing, but instead of the usual terse meeting, she asked his input on restructuring the department to allow more flexibility for parents. "I've been thinking about work-life balance," she explained. "And how our company could benefit from actually practicing what we preach in those HR pamphlets." Over the following months, Katherine became a regular visitor at Jack and Emma's home. Movie nights, Sunday dinners, trips to the park, she slipped into their lives with surprising ease. The formidable CEO remained at work, but Jack now saw beyond the facade to the woman underneath. Emma adored her, and Katherine blossomed under the child's uncomplicated affection. She taught Emma to bake, to play chess, to stand up for herself. In return, Emma taught Katherine to build blanket forts, to see shapes in clouds, to laugh without restraint. Jack watched the relationship grow with a mixture of joy and trepidation. He hadn't allowed anyone close since Sarah died, protective of both Emma's heart and his own. Yet Katherine had somehow slipped past his defenses. 6 months after the snowstorm, they returned to the cabin for Emma's spring break. As Emma slept, Jack and Katherine sat on the porch, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. "I never thanked you properly," Katherine said. "For what?" "For letting me in that night. For giving me a second chance when you had every reason not to." Jack turned to look at her. "You've given us a lot too, you know. Emma adores you." "And what about you?" Katherine asked, her voice soft but direct, always direct, even now. Jack took a deep breath. "I was afraid for a long time. Of moving on, of letting someone new into our lives. But Emma was right all along." "About what?" "She told me weeks ago that you fit with us. That you make us better." He reached for Katherine's hand. She was right. Katherine's fingers tightened around his. "I've spent my whole life chasing success, never realizing what I really wanted was this. A connection. A family. Is that what we are?" Jack asked. "A family?" Katherine's eyes shimmered in the fading light. "I'd like us to be." A year to the day after Katherine's car slid off the road, they gathered at the cabin again, this time with friends and family to witness as they became, officially, what they had been in their hearts for months, a family. Emma, resplendent in her flower girl dress, beamed as she watched her father and Katherine exchange vows by the fireplace where they had first begun to see each other clearly. "Sometimes the worst storms lead us exactly where we need to be," Katherine said in her vows, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "To the people who can teach us what really matters." Later, as their guests celebrated around them, Jack found Katherine standing by the window, watching the gentle snowfall outside. Having second thoughts, he teased, wrapping his arms around her waist. She leaned back against him. "Only about why it took me so long to find you." "We weren't ready before," Jack said simply. "Everything has its time." Emma bounded up to them, her energy undiminished despite the long day. "Does this mean I can call you Mom now?" she asked Katherine, the question they discussed but left for Emma to decide when she was ready. Katherine knelt down, taking Emma's hands in hers. "I would be honored," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "But I want you to know that I'll never try to replace your mom. She'll always be part of you, and part of our family." Emma nodded solemnly. "I know. But I think she'd be happy I have you too." As the three of them embraced, Jack marveled at life's unexpected turns. From that stormy night when a shivering CEO asked to share his blanket to this moment of perfect belonging, none of it could have been predicted. Sometimes the people who challenge us most are the ones who can change our lives for the better. Sometimes the worst storms lead to the brightest dawns. And sometimes, when we least expect it, we find exactly what we need, not what we thought we wanted, but what our hearts recognized all along. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We share new stories of hope, second chances, and unexpected love every week. Remember, life's greatest chapters often begin with moments we never saw coming. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.